Alright guys, and welcome back to the vlog. It has been far too long, and I'd be lying if today's isn't a little bittersweet, but I'm out here giving Reina a bath, and as you guys probably see, she heads out tomorrow. So we're gonna go through a bit of a highlight reel with her and answer some probably silly questions and questions that everybody's been wondering, because she's kind of been the right-hand man, or right-hand woman, I guess I probably should say in today's day and age, but she's kind of, gosh, the first 100 days, basically. I'll walk you guys just through her journey a little bit. We'll throw some photos and some videos in there. I want to give you guys a little context. She was the second Mustang that I had done an Extreme Mustang makeover. And so the first year when I picked up Sweet Caroline, I didn't have any context. I didn't have any reference. I just got this wild animal that we loaded in the back of my trailer, and I was just like, all right, this is what I got. And when I got to the makeover with Sweet Caroline, not going to take the highlight away from her, but it wasn't until I got to the competition with my first Mustang did I realize that I had a really nice horse. Because I just picked this horse up and went home and got busy and didn't think much else and didn't watch the other competitors. But when I got to the competition that first year, I was like, oh man, I got something nice. So that gave me a little bit of reference for when I went and picked up Reina. And we drove up to Ohio, and there was a pickup location there, and we drove up and we got there early enough, and that way we could go ahead and pick our horses up and head back home. And I wanted to at least get a session in or so before the day wrapped up. And so we walked up to the pins, and they give you your folder, and we go to the pin, we find the pin that she's in, and we're looking at her, and I see this seemingly looking black mare, and it says that she's a black 5-year-old mare from Maverick Medicine, Nevada. And I take a look at this horse, and she just looks like a straight up ranch horse. Like the way she's standing, she's very poised. She wasn't dominant in the paddock, in the pen, but there was another horse that was pretty close near her that seemed to, like, the other horse was a little more nervous, and she was pretty composed. But physically, I was like, man, my words in my head were, I can work with that. And especially after that, after we looked at her, we looked around the rest of the pins, and they always pick out good horses for us for the Mustang makeover, but you definitely have your preferences when you're looking around. And I remember we backed the trailer up and we went to load her in, and everybody else is standing around talking and carrying on and everything, and everybody else is seeing the horse that I drew, and they kind of knew what I thought. What I had running through my head was like, okay, this is a good combination, and like they're going to be tough to beat. And we loaded them up, and everybody's like, man, you got lucky. And I was like, I don't care what I got. I got that horse, and she's going to be a really damn fine one to work with. And I was super excited when we first picked her up. Basically picked her up the end of February of 2019, and I had a clinic like in 10 days. And so I was like, you know what? We're in Extreme Mustang Makeover. We got 100 days to get this horse ready for competition. And I was hell-bent to win it. And that meant that when I get hell-bent on winning something, that means I'm going to put the most amount of time that it takes, whatever it takes, I'm going to get there, as long as me and my horse get there in good sound mind. And we had over 600 hours of ride time in 100 days. And she traveled to 5 states and 6 clinics in 100 days. And and that really set the tone for education, and that's really set the tone for my entire program about how we start horses and how we bring horses along in their education. Is, that we want them to learn the basics. We want them to learn the solid foundations that come along with that, but also like put it to use. Go get them out, go do something with them, give them a job, and you guys will hear me refer all the time, like build a working partnership with them. And that was exactly what this horse and I've had going. And so she's taught me a lot about that. We've been all over the place together. This horse, actually, as I'm thinking about it, as I was getting ready for the Extreme Mustang Makeover, I started making some pretty dramatic changes, because I knew that if I wanted to win, I couldn't just keep doing the same thing that I had been doing. And I need to take everything to another level. So I didn't know I was getting this horse, but like 2 months before that makeover, I started taking cold showers, I started journaling, I started doing a lot more personal development stuff, and now all that stuff that you guys listen to me now, that's all I halfway talk about, and it all started just a few months before I got this particular horse. And so, you know, she wasn't an easy start. Well, yeah, she was definitely not an easy start by any means. Getting her saddled and everything like that, she had a really strong fear response, and so we could get her saddled and everything like that, but when she went to move around with the saddle on, things got a little western, and in the sense that like there was dust flying, and we got some good photos that we'll show you guys, and so the very first time I ever got on her, I got on her bareback, just because that's just seems to be my mode. If I got something that might get a little squirrely with me on them, I'm gonna crawl around them on a bareback first. And so that was and I got on her bareback and walked her around bareback the very first time I got on her. And then from there, the next day, I went ahead and put my first ride on her. And you know, that's definitely, like, when you look back on any of your rides, I'd say there's only ever one first ride on any horse. And then you get a wild one, a completely wild horse, where like you really got to convince them that your idea and what you're up to is not going to hurt them, and it's going to be, you know, you're there to help them understand things, and you're not there to eat them, and all the stuff that goes into, you know, building a relationship, but also building a means of communicating with each other, because, you know, we're more predator and they're more prey, and they are prey animals, and you know, most people are more predator-like, and so that first ride definitely is a special one, just in the fact that, you know, that's the only time you ever get to do that. But since then, as far as my favorite rides go, there's going to be probably two instances. My wife reminded me just over the overall thing. This horse has been extremely valuable to me and into my education, but also to my business, because I started a lot of horses off of her. So she's become, you know, she's a true saddle horse. I can start colts of all types, whether they're really tricky, quote unquote, problem horses, or if they are, you know, I've roped wild Mustangs off of her. You know, we've done all sorts of stuff with her, and she's been so valuable with her mindset when starting colts, because you can get a colt that's in the round pen that's extremely bothered, and not much phases this horse. And so you have another horse in there that is really panicky, and for her just to be like taking a big deep breath, just hanging out like she is here, brings a lot of calm and confidence to that other colt that's really having some trouble. And that's something that you can't really create yourself as a person. Like, we can do some things to get some of those feelings going between us and the horse, but there's nothing more valuable than having this horse in there with me as my teammate to help that become possible. And it's been a real asset to bringing these young horses, to starting a lot of colts, working with a lot of horses that have had troubles. And so I'd say that, you know, the rides where we've been working together, that working partnership that I really believe in building with our horses, where we put to work all the things, all the basics that, you know, and all the techniques and the flat work and the dry work and all the stuff that we've been working on, we finally get to use it. And this horse loves to go to work. Like, she loves working colts. Now, she'd like to really push them around. That's her favorite activity. You know, sometimes you're like, hey, Reina, like, we don't have to chase them all the time, you know, but she doesn't mind one that tries to push into her, because she's like, she thinks she's 17 and a half hands haul, you know, and she's built like a Mack truck. And so nonetheless, like, I think her and I both have enjoyed working together in the colts, starting the colts together and all that stuff. But the one ride that really comes to mind that was really special was our compulsory pattern the compulsory pattern in the finals at the makeover, because, you know, I've worked for people that really specialize in the freestyle side of the events. I have a lot of good friends that are really good at freestyles, but just the way my brain works, I really like finessing the details. And sometimes in the freestyles, it's more about creativity than it is about the details. And so my goal going into this competition was, one, to win, no doubt. Don't get me wrong, my goal was to win, but it was also like, I wanted to kick butt in that reining pattern so bad, because if I could get those details correct, then I was really focusing on enhancing my ability to train these horses and communicate with these horses and really give them an education that'll serve them the rest of their life, because I had no intentions in keeping this horse afterwards. And if I could really nail that reining compulsory pattern, then we were going to be really well set up. And so that ride and her and I worked so hard to get that ride put together, and it came together. We kicked ass in that ride, and there was nothing quite like it, because we left everything we had in that arena. And it turns out, you know, we were in, I think we won that class by 8 or 10 points in that freestyle. So I mean, we both came out there and we were just so damn proud of ourselves. Like, we just had this gel between us at that point. We're just like, yeah, like, this is, you can't beat that. And so that was one of the best rides, I think. One of the most memorable rides I had on her, because we spent so much time trying to get all the finessed pieces together to be able to complete that. So yeah, I'd say that was definitely one of our favorite rides. You know, she's not always the most, like, she doesn't always come out want to go. She's not like a work hard kind of horse. Like, she'll go to work and she'll give her best 1,000 times over. But the thing is, like, this horse, like, she would break before she quit. And so that's probably been the biggest thing, because I don't have much quit. And so, like, you know, I'll push and we'll keep going and we'll keep riding and we'll keep trying to figure stuff out. And but she has an incredible willingness just to keep going, like, in all areas. Like, whether she gets scared about something, she gets frustrated about something, she doesn't quite want to do something, but the job has to get done anyway, she will push past that every freaking time and figure out whatever you're after. That's why I think people see her as so valuable, because she has such a good mind about her, that she is so coachable, that most people don't find that in their horses. And I think that horses are more coachable than people think. It's just that sometimes the humans lack the ability to get that across to them, to set up the structures and the discipline and the guidelines and all of those. But this is not like her natural disposition. Like, once I got her to where she truly believed we were on the same team, right? Once I convinced her, like, I was not there to eat her, I was not there to hurt her, and that I was there, like, we were going through this makeover process. Once I convinced her that we were going to work at this together through this whole thing, because I started working on myself months before I picked this horse up. So, you know, I had gone through my own mini makeover, and now we're going through this makeover on our own all the way together. Once we got on the same team, it was like a little dynamic duo. You know, we hit the road hard. And so, yeah, just coachability has been probably the biggest thing. You know, you can't ask a horse, like, if they're trying, that's all you can ask for, really. Like, if they put their heart and their soul into it, that's all you can ask for. Yeah, it's been a hell of a journey, and there's a lot of people out there saying you shouldn't sell her, you shouldn't do this, you know. I've had her for sale for a little bit, but it hasn't been very public. Like, we posted her once or twice, and people were like, oh, she hasn't sold, she's your heart horse, you should keep her. But the fact of the matter is that I get just as much enjoyment watching these horses go to these new homes as I do riding them. And I'm super excited to watch her go on. I mean, Julie Pershing has my first Extreme Mustang makeover horse, Sweet Caroline, and it has been super freaking cool to watch the journey that they have had together. I mean, Julie puts in the miles with that horse, and they just absolutely love it. And I know that, based on talking to Tim and his family, that it's not going to be any different with this particular horse. And so with all of that, I'm super stoked for them to have this horse and to be able to purchase this horse from us. She's a phenomenal representation of how well we can educate horses, and the opportunity that we can, the second chance that we can kind of give these Mustangs in particular, that they just go from a holding facility to a chance to get an education and then be able to come out and earn an education to become so desirable that people are willing to pay a significant amount of money for them. And you know, they're really good animals, but then, you know, but it also goes into the education we give them.